Hello everyone, Silver Contrail here, part of Team Drive Trigger. Today I'm going to be talking about two Dragunity decks that have topped the recent regionals in Canada, of all places. Both of these took place in Canada, different parts of Canada. Regina and Moncton. I don't even know how to say those, and they probably say so in the videos, but I completely forgot. So recording this today, I talked to the um, Mon- Moncton. Well, I don't even know how to say it, and I'm not even going to try anymore. One of the regional toppers on Facebook, we were talking that someone in our group that we're in brought up that one of the people who had topped a recent regional was running Dragunity. They brought it to my attention because he knew how much of a Dragunity player I was, and then the guy actually showed up on the thread, which was really interesting. So we get a lot of discussion out of that, a lot of talking about some things. A lot of comparisons, so that's why I'm making this video, to do some comparison and talk about what's working, what seems to not be working. The first build I'm going to talk about is the Regina one, the first one that I looked at. This was before the one that got posted in the group. This guy got first place, and I'll post a link to his video in the description, so you can go ahead and check that out. Otherwise, here's his build right in front of me, made on Dueling Network. So basically, the lineup is very much what you'd expect. I'd say the most interesting things are the traps, but we'll go through the whole entirety of it just once so we can talk about some of the basics, because the second build is surprisingly similar. So first of all, the triple ducks, triple phalanx, that's pretty standard by now. The double Zephyros, very standard. Double Legionnaire and double Acus. This is something that I think is interesting. I think double Legionnaire is really good right now. That's the correct number to run it at. Double Acus is something that I don't know about. Even I'm on the fence about it, but it apparently seems to be working for people, so it's something I think that is definitely worth trying. Interestingly enough, he's running the Foolish Burial, so you'd think, well, you wouldn't have to run the double Acus, but still doing that, I guess it leads to some consistency, which I would think might be overkill in that sense, but hey, I mean, whatever. If it works, it works. And then we've got the double Nastiltian and the Red Eyes Darkness Metal, so we're running the Autumn style build, which basically means you're running 3 extra cards that are going towards a certain combo, which really isn't too much to mention. Now, this build, as you can see here, is 41 cards. When he played, he didn't run the Pot of Avarice, actually, because he didn't write it down on his deck list, so he couldn't use it the whole day. So just keep that in mind, that he wasn't running Pot of Avarice through the entirety of it. In terms of spells, basically standard lineup. You're seeing like the Foolish Burial and the double Lances. Heavy Storm in there. I've been a pretty big advocate away from Heavy Storm, saying that it's not a card that you need in the deck. As we get into a more trap-heavy format, that might change. Clearly, it seems to be doing pretty well for people. No Dark Hole here. And I definitely talked about the other person who got top 8. I talked to him about Dark Hole versus in Heavy Storm, and basically the consensus was you'd rather lose your Ravine than lose your monsters if you have to activate one or the other. And Heavy Storm will probably win you the game. Dark Hole is more of a card where it kind of lets you keep going if you start losing. So ideally you wouldn't have to activate Heavy Storm or Dark Hole, but Heavy Storm will win you the game versus Dark Hole, which won't necessarily actually let you win it. And then you see the rest is pretty standard, except for the traps, which he's running. Again, no Mirror Forces, running the Deep Prisons instead. This is pretty good. I think I'll start running these. I'm running double Mirror Force and double Deep Prisons in my build right now, but it does take up a lot of space, so that's something to consider. Dark Bribe is in here, basically, instead of a Starlight Road, which I like Dark Bribe, and I don't like Dark Bribe. It's definitely, in this deck, an interesting card because it does let you save your Solemn Judgment for later, and that's really nice, and you want to be able to kill counter traps that are going to hurt you, especially in Game 2. Basically, you use it if you cannot possibly let a card resolve, but you don't want to flip your Solemn, or you don't have your Solemn, so it's interesting. And then the 7 tools, his meta was apparently really saturated with high trap decks. This may or may not work for your meta. Definitely something I would have side decked and not main decked, if it run at all, because again, he's got the decree side. And then the rest is pretty standard from there. The side deck is basically the Typhoons, the double Shadow Imprisonings, the Decree, Gozen Mach, Imperial Iron Wall. This is pretty all standard stuff, except I'd say for the Imperial Iron Wall it's a little bit different, but we're in a deep prison format, so that's a good card to run. Sides in against Macro, sides in against D-Fissure. It's a really good Game 3 card, I think. Maxi, really don't like Maxi and Dragunity. I don't know really what he was thinking with that. It just, I believe, and I would have to rewatch the video, so don't quote me on this, but I believe he said something about he would take these out, and I definitely agree with that. Maxi really doesn't do anything for this deck, especially, you're not running Effect Veiler in here. What does Maxi really do for you? So, then we got Soul Taker. Soul Taker is really good. Obviously kills the Ryo in the first turn, but it also stops a bunch of the hero fusions and a bunch of other nonsense that likes to sit around and mess up your day. And then Double Twisters, which just popping face-up spells. You can run these, you can run Dust Tornadoes, whatever is better for your playstyle. And then for your extra deck, for his extra deck, was pretty standard lineup again, with like a Gaia Charger and the Strike Bouncer, and then a single Blackwing Dragon, which is sort of a Tekken against Chamburn. So I like this deck, I like the build, it's definitely really interesting to see the direction that people are going with this, especially the no Dark Hole direction, no Effect Veilers, going solely with the Phoenix Chains, more back row heavy certainly more back row heavy than the last format, and that's kind of cool. But then also assessing that the back row is now an issue and you need to be able to play for that. So the second deck, here we go. Alright, this top, the Monkatan Regional. I can't say it anyways, but okay. If you notice, it has the exact same monster lineup. I can't get over how funny that is. Yep, monster lineup is exactly identical, and yeah, it's really interesting. The spell lineup, guess what? Actually, is it exactly identical? I want to say it is, but something's stopping me from saying that. No, it is exactly identical. Nope, that's the wrong deck. So once again, your standard monster lineup with the standard spell lineup with the trap lineup, which is the only difference here. He's not running 41 cards, he's running 40, and instead of a 7 tools, he basically drops the 7 tools, drops the Dark Bribe, adds in a Starlight Road. Very surprising to see how similar these builds are, and that they both were so successful at what they did. But I guess there's a reason behind that. And it just changed some of my opinions on things. A few cards in here are different than what I was running. Again, I was running the single Acus and no Lances, because I've been sick of Lances lately. I've been running Effect Veiler instead. At least for who I'm playing against, Lance is definitely not the best option. And then again, no Stardust Dragon, because... Or no Stardust Dragon. No Mirror Force here. Dimensional Prison definitely being the better card. Typhoon and Shadow Imprisonings, Light Imprisonings, Decree goes in. Prohibition, I like Prohibition as a side deck card in Dragunity. It's really cool, especially with another card which I'll talk about here in just a second. And then Smashing Ground and Snowman Eater and Spacing Grand Mole. Basically, extra deck is almost the same. He's not running the Blackwing Dragon, he's running Orient Dragon instead. So, I really like this build as well. It's pretty cool. Basically, same philosophies going along with both of them, which I would discuss in depth if I had the time, but I don't want to make this video too long. Basically, what I want to say about this is the direction that the decks are going, in the sense that they're being really successful like this. So I mean, if you're going to play Dragunity, I'd suggest running this build, running that style of build that's very similar to this. I think the autumn plays have really opened up a lot of the explosiveness of the deck, as well as it being really good this format, and that's primarily because Stardust Dragon is so good right now. There's so many cards that Stardust Dragon just doesn't care about, especially Stardust paired with Lance, or Stardust paired with Dimensional Prisoner, Stardust paired with Phoenix Chain, or Stardust Warning. And those are all so good. And just like Samurai, you can almost always open with them. And then you can set up your back row. And unlike Samurai, even if you don't open up with the nuts, which you certainly can in this deck, you can still continue to make really good plays turn after turn after turn, as long as you beat out the vulnerabilities. Because unfortunately, your game 2 is going to be pretty tough. Game 2 and game 3 are pretty tough, and that's where this side deck, you really have to have counter side deck choices that are good. And that's important. So that's what I wanted to talk about between those two decks. Basically, just quick show them off and all that stuff. Now, there's another card, and I don't know if you can see this because I just switched tabs. I'm not sure if it's recording this tab or not, but it probably isn't. But there's a new card that was just linked in one of the magazines in Japan that's a Stardust Dragon clone. And so what this thing is a 2500 attack, 2000 defense. It has the exact same stats, level 8 synchro, wind, as Stardust Dragon. But its effect is a little bit differently. So it's a generic synchro, so you can use any synchro monsters for it, or any materials. But its effect is once per turn during either player's turn, you can target one face-up card you control. Until the end phase, the target cannot be destroyed by card effects. This card's name, as in the synchro monster, is treated as Stardust Dragon while it is face-up on the field. So this is really cool, and it's again a level 8 that we can get really easily, but it lets us basically have a card, like a card guard, like that when you put the token on it and then you remove it, or like a safe zone almost, that doesn't protect from battle, on something, and then just like sit it there. But you can, the trick is that this is a trigger effect that can activate, or this is an effect that can activate on either player's turn. So let's say you have this thing out, and you go attack, and then they flip like Mirror Force or something. So you target your own, and I'm guessing you can do this. You target your own Stardust Dragon, and then it can't be destroyed by card effects. So then you just attack through the Mirror Force. So that's pretty cool. So it kind of acts like Stardust Dragon in that sense. Now, you can also do this with like Typhoon. So say they go Typhoon your back row. You go, or well, let's say that they Typhoon a face-up card in your back row, like your Gozenmatch or your Decree. You go target that, and then it doesn't get destroyed. Not only does it not get destroyed then, but it doesn't get destroyed for the rest of the turn. So even if they have another Typhoon or they've got Heavy Storm, doesn't matter. They can't take it out. Which is really cool, and I think it'll be really cool with Safe Zone. So you get Safe Zone behind this thing, you use that effect, target Safe Zone. Every time they try to pop Safe Zone, you use that. And their only outs are things that can bounce Safe Zone, which they can't do as easily without Brionic in this game. So once again, I think this, this card's really good. Really, really good. There's going to be many situations, in fact, where Stardust Dragon's going to be the better card, but I definitely am going to run one in Dragunity if I can get my hands on it. I'm really looking forward to that. And of course, Crimson Blaster, Crimson something. Whenever we get that, I don't know when we're going to get it. And it's not Crimson Blaster, I don't remember what it is. It's a really cool card. That when you attack over a monster and destroy it by battle, your opponent cannot special summon level 5 or higher monsters next turn. That's actually really cool, especially against like heroes or something. That's pretty neat. Stop their fusions. That's all I basically have for today, and I'm gonna close up shop here. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I've given you some thoughts on Dragunity. And deck lists, or the videos that I got this from will be in the description. And until next time then.